On November 17, 2025, which was last year, Five Nights at Freddy's actually managed to get a collaboration with Popeyes. And no, I'm not talking about the cartoon character Popeyes, the sailor. I'm talking about the Popeyes chicken fast food conglomerate. And trust me when I tell you, there were plenty of Five Nights at Freddy's YouTube content creators that were just about to can't wait and just snack on that food. Dorko, Food Theory, CG5, and so on and so forth. Thanks to the arrival and the release of Five Nights at Freddy's 2 since last year, this was the best time to be able to bring up a food collaboration due to the release of the movie. And I gotta say, I'm actually quite surprised by this because I never thought I'd see the day that where Five Nights at Freddy's finally actually gets an actual food collaboration. And to be honest, I have actually been thinking of doing some ideas with Five Nights at Freddy's collaborating with other food conglomerates or any kind of place that is related to food or any other kind of arcade places that could possibly collaborate with Five Nights at Freddy's. That's right. You are watching a brand new series that I've actually planned out for quite some time, and I've written these ideas out like years ago, called What If Fnaf Collabed with Real Fast Food Conglomerates or other places like for, arcade machines and all that, etc., etc. So yeah, we were going to be pretty much going through a few vast of different areas of the most iconic food places or pretty much restaurants, cafes, or even perhaps any arcade areas that people that they would go to that they would know and love about. I've had this stuff written down on my piece of paper for absolute years now, and I haven't touched on this stuff since. Now, thanks to Popeyes and Five Nights at Freddy's having that collab last year, this is finally the best time to finally do a video about this. So, let's get to it. So the very first video of this series, we're actually going to be starting off very strong here. What else is a pretty popular food conglomerate that a lot of people know and love most of all? McDonald's. Who else can probably pretty much compete against the most famous golden arches themselves? Along with, the major famous clown himself, Ronald McDonald. Now, also, just a major quick disclaimer here, I'm not associated with any of these companies. These are just basically my thoughts and ideas to, what I actually want to do. If they were to actually collaborate with these sort of people or something like that. This is just to be all fun, alright? Not to be completely serious. I'm not associated with the companies at all. I just go to the places myself just to eat food if I ever want to. Now also, we'll be also talking about which specific animatronic characters could possibly be the potential mascot replacements or adaptations, I guess, for the specific certain characters that are in, any of the vast majorities of McDonald's, for example, or any other place that basically has specific icons, for example. Plus, when it comes to food, this was the hard part when it came to part of the glitch, which is actually not part of my written down stuff. I pretty much kind of came up with most of these things on the fly just to see how things might actually potentially go, I think. But regardless, in the end of the day, this is just a bunch of ideas that I just had up in my head after all this time. That I get to finally share it around with all you people. So, let's get to it. First off, we're obviously going to just straight up go strong with the mascots. It's pretty obvious. And when it comes to McDonald's, you obviously know the main famous clown himself, Ronald McDonald, who is basically the face of the entire franchise. Along with the other three guests that we are going to also talk about are Grimace, which is the big purple blob-like guy, which also pretty much brought out the Grimace shake, I think, a while back in 2024 or something. Hamburglar, who's basically this person who wears black and white clothes and a wide brim hat usually. The person that technically steals hamburgers. And of course, Birdie the early bird, which is basically a yellow suited bird, the first female character to promote the breakfast menus. Now those are the four main characters that we're going to be specifically talking about today. But before I go into that, Let's also first off add on the one and only main character himself, in addition to the franchise of Five Nights at Freddy's, Freddy Fazbear himself. Now, I think it's pretty obvious that it's fair to say that it's probably best to give him, well, obviously the Fnaf 1 version of Freddy Fazbear himself, because it's obviously the most iconic look for Freddy Fazbear. And for Freddy Fazbear to actually be part of McDonald's would actually be a very big surprise, and probably fans would go absolutely nuts when it comes to a character like Freddy Fazbear, the main big bear himself. Right next side to the one and only Ronald McDonald, or should I say the FNAF adaptation of Ronald McDonald. Now, what do you think I mean by this exactly? Well, I'm saying that we're gonna actually have some of the FNAF characters specifically as trying to act like as the mascots in McDonald's. So first off, Freddy Fazbear, as I said, will probably just be the main shot, mostly because it is Five Nights at Freddy's collaborating, if they were to do that, again. But what about Ronald McDonald? Well, the thing that, technically speaking, that Ronald McDonald is technically a clown, and due to the face, white face, painted face, the red lips, and also the red nose, of course, and plus also the red hair, who else is basically a clown-like character? Well, my only best guess was to pretty much go for Enid from Five Nights at Freddy's sister location. Even though technically that Enid is technically the combination of all the sister location animatronics molded and mashed together by the scooper, that doesn't technically mean that we can have him like that. I feel like that Enid in this case could probably just be like a different version of Enid without having to have the mangled stuff from the sis location, and just be his own specific character in this kind of time. You can see that this is Enid, should probably actually have the kind of look that, as you can see right here, with the yellow suit that the original Ronald McDonald wears, along with a bit of a red wig, and also perhaps like, you know, the yellow gloves, the red shoes, all that sort of stuff. This pretty much suits him very perfectly as a character if it were to be like a FNAF adaptation mascot for McDonald's. This actually goes perfect as a T. So technically speaking, it's like an unwithered Enid, if you consider that any way, shape, or form, because it's not the first time that a lot of fans actually did make or try to do art of like a unwithered Enid back in the past, ever since the release of Sister Location. There's been a few of these, especially like in one main game, fan game that I saw specifically a while back. I can't remember what it was. I'll just put it in there in the video anyways, and I'll tell you what it is. But yeah, this is what I kind of technically mean. This pretty much suits very, very well for Enid to become like the adaptation of a Ronald McDonald animatronic-like humanoid mascot, if you would want to technically call that. So yeah, that's one of them down. Now let's go ahead and go off with Birdie, the early bird. This one is no big surprise here to me, and I think it's pretty obvious that we're going to be giving out, well, Toy Chica for this one. Yes, I know, people are probably also going to go mad on this one, but this was pretty much the only best and, if not appropriate, reasonable answer. At least this time around, Toy Chica can be a bit more covered up this time. I'm not even kidding. You can see that Birdie, the early bird, has like this pink, you know, overalls that she at least wears. It kind of has like a sort of sleeves that are around her. Plus, also she wears these goggles above her head. So you could probably add that kind of hair, the wig or something to Toy Chica, give her those accessories and those new clothes, in addition to actually just bring out more of the early bird, Birdie type of style of Toy Chica, if you know what I mean. So don't get any ideas! Now, off to the Hamburglar now. Now, this is very funny, and I actually really do feel like this was the perfect match for a particular Five Nights at Freddy's character that could match the scene with this. I'm talking about Balloon Boy. Yep, I'm not kidding when I say this, but I'm giving Balloon Boy the role of an adaptation to Hamburglar. This would go so hilariously well. I kid you not, and the art for this that I try to do here was so... it was just perfect. This suits Balloon Boy to an absolute T. Instead of having stripes going vertically as he has originally for Balloon Boy, of course, since that he's the hamburger, he is basically gonna have, you know, his shirt, you know, horizontal lines of black and white, and so will the sleeves. And maybe probably give him like, the red gloves perhaps, why not? And also since that he does have a little bit of a bow tie, we can also give him the bow tie that has the shape of hamburgers in there as well. The hair in particular, sure, you can change his hair to orange, I guess. I mean, that really wouldn't be a bad idea. Plus also giving him the mask would be the extra touch, plus the wide brim hat. It just works so perfectly well. Maybe give him a hamburger instead of a balloon. That'll, for the extra touch, that'll be absolutely hilarious. Now, the final mascot, the Grimace. Now, I know what you guys are all thinking. Now, this was also a little bit hard to brainstorm, but not really, in a sense that, I kind of already freaking knew, like, who exactly could be the adaptation or slash replacement in order to pretty much, get this character rolling. Now, I know what, and like I said, probably a lot of people will be thinking about William Afton, for example, since that technically that both characters are pretty much purple. But when it comes to the similarities between Grimace and Purple Guy himself, well, technically speaking, sure, they're both purple, but look at them. In terms of shape and size, they're not exactly that well the same in terms of appearance. Now, I could have actually possibly gone for Shadow Freddy as well, but I wasn't quite sure exactly if that was also a right match either, because I don't think that's going to be necessary. That is, however, if I came to one only conclusion, which a lot of people might actually come to a shock with this, but I'm going for it anyways. Who remembers the Purple Guy Hoax? Yep, we're going there. Technically, this is like a rendition or like April Fool's joke of the Golden Freddy, sitting position. Though in this case, instead of having Gold Freddy there, it's technically a Purple Guy animatronic suit that pretty much looks like Purple Guy, but it's all robotic. Now, if you don't know what a hoax is, a hoax, or however the heck you pronounce it, is basically, just a fake version of, like, of the characters, and they just basically probably just use Adobe Edit or something, or Photoshop, for instances, to make it look like it's the real deal. And this happened a long time ago, which basically isn't a real big surprise to me. Specifically, the Purple Guy animatronic was created by a YouTuber by Roxo1987, which was back in 2015, which also was involved with creating the Grey Puppet since FNAF 2, or even especially close somewhat to FNAF 3. But at least as long as they don't give him the knife, at least I feel like I'll give it a green light for that. And plus, maybe the blood can also probably be said as like tomato sauce. So yeah, there you go. Those are the mascots for the main characters in like adaptation, plus along with Freddy Fazbear. Ennard as Ronald McDonald, Toy Chica as Birdie the Early Bird, Balloon Boy as the Hamburglar, and of course, the Hoax Purple Guy animatronic. This, I will admit, is actually not such a bad idea. This was actually a pretty much more standard, which I should have probably also mentioned before. This will probably involve with maybe some fan characters, such as the Hoax Purple Guy, for example, in some occasions to some of these videos. But I feel like I've done a pretty good solid job. For a bit of a first video for this series, I feel like we're up to a very strong start. Now, next off, let's quickly have a talk about the food part of areas, like actual food to eat. Like I said, the food department in this one was a little bit shaky in my brain, and also I wasn't exactly that ready to actually write this sort of stuff down, which I never had since those years ago when I did this. But I can only probably name a few interesting sort of food combos that could possibly actually work with this. Let's take for the burgers, for example. You ever heard, like, some of the pizza burgers, for example, like Domino's Pizza that actually involves with, well, burger pizza sauce? Well, let's take that and reverse that concept. But this time, it's in a burger specifically, along with having Uzi pizza cheese sauce, for example. You can just keep the tomatoes if you want, add in some maybe, like pepperoni that you would normally put in your pizza, but this time add it in a burger. And that's probably just the kickstarter to this, unless if you want to have like some additional ingredients to it, like maybe mushroom, because mushrooms do go in pizza after all, let's be real. along with some fish like anchovies, for example, which will be of a bit of a very salty taste in my opinion. I'm not that quite sure if that's going to work out very well, but hey, like I said, these are just my ideas, and plus my opinions anyways. I'm just going for it here. And of course, we can't forget about pineapple, and I still don't understand why that people say that some people just don't like pineapple on pizza just because it makes the pizza soggy. Well, though in this case, a lot of people will probably enjoy the fact that having pineapple on this burger flavored pizza flavored burger, I should be saying, actually, my mistake, will probably give a little bit of sweetness, as a lot of people would usually love their burgers when it comes to the sweetness of pineapples inside a burger. If anyone is also like up for the spiciness kind of a taste, then of course you could probably add some jalapenos if you'd like, which actually wouldn't really surprise me. I feel like that's a pretty good idea, to be fair. Along with pretty much like so many other condiments and also ingredients that you could probably add in to make like a pizza flavored burger specifically. I know that sounds weird, but like trust me when I tell you, like I'm trying my best here to get like the right words for this. Or even take, for example, like fries, for example. If you remember one of the loaded fries that they actually made back from McDonald's, they had like, you know, melted cheese sauce on it or something like that. Why not have some more of that cheese sauce again? And this time maybe with just pepperonis in addition. Add some pizza sauce if you have to, which also would be a big good choice also. Adding pizza sauce if you want to have your pizza flavored burger in particular, that's actually not a bad idea when you think about it. Maybe that's also probably a good touch to it, maybe. A lot of people actually did realize that there was a bit of pizza sauce when it comes to the Popeyes Freddy collaboration back in some of the videos, and to be fair, like, you know what, that's actually not a bad idea. Maybe they could possibly go with that if they were to decide to go with that idea. Or literally just like pizza sauce as like just the main condiment, so you could just put like on just your fries alone, or you know, any other kind of sauce like the nuggets, for example. Now desserts is also another thing. When it comes to desserts, it's a little bit also interesting. Do you guys remember about the snack bars that they had in Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted? Yep, I'm talking about those too. Those will be a very interesting snack kind of dessert, or like more likely to be able to, for like a kid's Happy Meal or something like that along the lines. You know, the chicken lemon bar, the Foxy plunder bar, the Bonnie Berry bar, or also the Fazbear bar or something like that along the lines. And trust me when I tell you, I saw this in People vs. Food, and they actually made that food specifically. They did it straight off the bat. I didn't even think that they were even able to actually make food like this in their channel. So props to freaking People vs. Food on that one. So if McDonald's were to ever make some ideas on that one, you might as well take some notes for that. But what about also like the drinks or the normal like desserts, like, you know, the sundaes, for example? Well, I guess you can't really say much. I guess if you want, you could probably do like the actual specific flavor desserts based on like, well, the main characters of the Freddy Fazbear gang. So chocolate for Freddy Fazbear, so sundae with chocolate sauce for Freddy Fazbear, strawberry for Foxy, blueberry or bubblegum sauce for a sundae if you pick Bonnie, and also lemon or pineapple or banana flavor decoration for the sundae for Chica specifically. If anyone were to be thinking about like, well, I don't know, like a purple drink like that represents purple guy, sure, that's fine. I feel like we can do pretty good with that one. And of course, let's not forget about the cupcakes in particular, as I know that a cupcake would also be very pleasant to probably bring out for another dessert item as well, which by the way, of course, is not the biggest surprise there, because guess what? Popeyes also had the exact same idea when they did the Fnaf collaboration as well, which is no big surprise. Also, along with the Fnaf food desserts for the movie, which is a cupcake dessert, if you guys remember that. In some of the people's videos, like Docker, for example. Anything like that along the lines could be very suitable for that kind of, you know, dessert food area in terms of, you know, food, I guess, for McDonald's. The same thing when it comes to just regular fizzy drinks or even just milkshakes as well, for example. Just do that. Just do the exact same thing for, like, you know, the flavors based on each and every character, which would probably make a lot of sense. And also, just maybe for a little bit of a funny one, but since that I actually put edit in the team, there's a possibility that we might possibly get like an exotic butters drink. And thanks to People vs. Food, they pretty much did the exact same thing back then. So that would be kind of hilarious actually if they put like an exotic butters beverage, which would be one of the most oddest beverages that I probably would ever see if I'm being completely honest with myself. But yeah, at this rate, I feel like I pretty much cover my bases, both with characters and food. I feel like I've done pretty good for a first start with this video. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. And there's plus going to be plenty more of these videos where they're going to be coming from every week with this. So stick around to see more. I know I haven't been doing FNAF content for quite some time now, and I'm very happy to be able to bring this back thanks to the Popeyes / Fnaf collab that they did back in 2025. So I'm very happy that they did this. It actually gave me more motivation to actually finally get this series going, which is fantastic. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, click on the notification bell to never miss a video or live stream. Click on the likes and subscribe if you haven't already. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, my name is Mad Dog, and may your days be mad and rad.